Live.
We're
Hello.
live. Oh my God, we're live. That's amazing. Hey, everybody. Welcome to Drummers Education Connection Deck, episode 99. Guys, can you believe 99?
99. We're partying like it's 99.
Woo! Oh my gosh.
Dang.
I'm so glad that we've been anointed with this technology. This is awesome.
Boom. Check that
Got
out.
it in
Right out of
early.
the gates, man. Got it in
Nice,
early.
Chip,
Man.
nice, Chip. It's October 11th, 2022.
Yes, it
Time is flying. It's just amazing. I'm here with two of my best friends and two of the greatest drummers in the world. We have Bart Ropley up in Ontario. That's LA. That's Los Angeles. We have Chip Ritter out in Tucson, the amazing, the wonderful, the gifted. Look at those twirls.
Look at that.
If
Look
you
at
come
Chip
out
go.
to Deck Day on November 12th, you could see a clinic with all of us.
Yeah.
And happy birthday shout out to Jeremy Steinkohler. Jeremy, we miss you. And
Jeremy Steinkohler, the steamroller, baby.
Steamroller's out hugging trees. He's like, hey, my internet isn't even going to be working. Man. Oh, my gosh.
Come on, that's funny.
He's going to detox. Digital
detoxing, hugging trees.
He's going to have a digital detox out there. And happy birthday to you, Chip.
Yes.
Hey,
you had a birthday this month. And a shout out to my sister-in-law, Laura Christine. We celebrated a big, fun birthday with her yesterday. So
nice.
That was really cool. So our episode today is just accumulated questions from all of our students. And I love these episodes because it's so fun to get a different kind of viewpoint from each of us. And I always learn something from these student questions. And the other thing is I always learn from my students' questions. They
yes.
Right. They help you grow. That's one of the great things about being an educator is that you can learn from everybody at any level too. So we're just going to throw around some different questions. If you're watching us live, hit us up, type in any of your questions, and we'll do our best to share some ideas and thoughts with you. So,
and also if you are a drum teacher, I think, and you have an answer that we don't, somebody asks a question, a student asks a question, and you have some input, please put it in the comments, man. We want it. That's what this is all about. All of us helping each other, So
exactly. Maybe our buddy Jim Royal in Connecticut is watching, or Kelly Ray.
I hope so. Jim Royal knows everything in the world. Jim Royal and Larry Rodbell know everything in the world about drumming. So
that's right.
Yes, they do.
That's right. It's so great to have a team a collective of people all sharing ideas. So
it is.
And most of us are part of the Sabian Education Network too. And that is an amazing group if you're an educator to check out also. So the first question I had, I know we've both been, we've been busy. I had my first gig in a long time after COVID, playing with a DJ Saturday night for a wedding, and it was the funnest gig ever. Bart, you were gigging in Miami.
I played in Miami and then played up by Orlando. The Knicks night, we played Miami Friday and Orlando-ish Saturday at the Orange Blossom Opry House. And great gigs. It's good to be out working again and be back in the saddle. I've been out since we started last year, but it's kind of back. It's pretty much back to normal, pretty much back to normal. Yeah.
It's so good. Chip, did you have any gigs this weekend?
No, I've been playing with my church on Sunday and Wednesdays doing my thing.
Cool,
man.
That is a gig.
That's a gig.
That is a gig. So we all gigged. So the question that I get from students, I'd love to know your answers. How do you get a gig?
How do you get a gig?
How do you get a gig? Woof, woof. All right.
Chip's dog answered the question for you. Yeah, look at that.
You asked. You asked for it.
Get out there and network.
The dog's out there networking for a gig, man. Well, Chip, you want to take this?
Well, seriously, about getting a gig is about meeting people and expanding your network. and getting out in front of people that could give you a gig, being in the same area. One of the first things I was told is to go out there and shake up the bushes and try to find open jams where I could go and play and get people to know me and get to know other people and start shaking my hands and put my business card out there.
Right.
That's one of the first things I could say about getting a gig.
Yeah.
Hey, I still have a business card. I still use a business card. Do you guys still
Right
use
on.
business cards?
Oh yeah, dude, totally.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Old school.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I
It
want
stands
to.
out 'cause nobody uses them.
I think I get asked for them quite a bit. People ask me, do you have a card? Quite often. I think it's old school, but it's definitely, hey, look, what's better, handing out a business card to somebody or writing your number on a napkin,
Yeah, you're right.
be pro,
I
as
have.
far.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh, I said, no, go ahead, Rick.
On the business card, I have business cards, but also on my phone, I have my profile under contacts. It's my name, all of my contact information, all on my iPhone under contacts, and it has my website, my studio address, links to social, and then I can just share that with someone on the spot too.
That's a great idea
too. Yeah.
That's a great idea. I like that. So it's almost like a digital business card.
It's like a digital business card. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
So I'm sorry, Bart, what were you going to say about?
Oh
no! What you anointed with that technology?
Man, he got it in twice, dude.
Wow,
you're killing it today, Chip.
Boy, you're frisky today, Chip.
I feel like I'm watching Happy Days. He's frisky. For me, I think, like Chip said, it's about being out there. And I kind of consider, I kind of consider everything a gig. And I like to tell people that first and foremost, when a student asks me, how do you get a gig? A gig to me is everything from a performance, and I think that's what most students need. How do you get a gig? How do you get in a band? How do you get in a working band? Well, that's such a big answer. There's so many answers to that, and such a broad question. You got to be willing to play a lot of bad gigs before you get a good gig, I think. But remember, a gig is also, for me, giving a drum lesson, going to a student's house and setting up a drum set, doing a tech and tune setup, doing a clinic like we're doing on deck days. So I think a gig is as a musician, as a drummer, it's kind of an all-encompassing thing. And so don't be afraid to take the gigs and kind of have all those different tools in your toolbox. And then also, I think not saying no a lot of times. Like I'll give you a perfect example. Probably about 3 weeks ago now, we played a place down in San Diego called, or not in San Diego, in Palm Springs, outside of Palm Springs, called the Rock Yard at Fantasy Springs Casino. And I kind of am a firm believer in you never know who's going to be out there watching you play. Right. Well, there's a guy that kind of is the MC of this particular show. I've got his name in my email. I can't remember his name right now. Anyways, the MC of the show, and he has a band that plays on Tuesday nights right next door to the Rock Yard in this little venue inside it's like an arcade thing. It's kind of a cool thing. They got a bowling alley and stuff. Anyway, they're the house band there every Tuesday night, and he needed a drummer. And he called me first, but between the time he called me and I got back to him, he had found somebody, but he's got me in his back pocket for a sub. So let's say that happens. My advice to you guys is this: always ask a lot of questions. And, if the gig comes up, I want to be prepared. So I said, okay, give me the pertinent information I need. I need a set list. I need how long you guys play for. And he went as far as to say, well, hey man, I got a recording of the entire show. I can send you a WeTransfer of the entire show. I said, do it. I've got it on file on my computer now. A lot of the songs I know, a lot of the songs I didn't know, and I'm learning them. So I'm becoming a better drummer. And last but not least, um, I'll be ready to go when he calls me. So getting a gig is just that. It's also being prepared when the phone does ring.
Yeah.
So all of those things.
There
All
it
of
is.
those things. Yeah.
There it is.
What about you, Rick? How do you get a gig? How did you get a gig, and what do you consider a gig? Let me throw that in there too.
Well, I mean, I consider a gig at its definition a playing date for a musician.
Okay.
And that's the word, the gig. Everybody else is stealing that word to sound cool. They're not musicians. They're like doing they're on Fiverr doing transcription or writing someone's resume. Everybody's or Uber or Lyft, they're calling that a gig too. Oh, this is my gig.
Oh yeah, yeah.
It's like, no, that's not a gig, man. That's our word. That's our word. It's a playing date for a musician, So don't go to your engineering job and go, I'm going to my gig. That ain't
Well,
going
what
to your
about
job.
if you get a job what happens if somebody calls you as a session drummer? Is that a gig?
I consider that a gig because it's a playing date for a musician. But I
Okay.
definitely take the same responsibility and preparedness and attitude to anything I do as a musician, whether
Yeah.
there's pay or not. Like I approach this show as a gig.
Oh yeah, me too. Yeah,
And
yeah. I
every
think we all
single
do.
lesson I give, exactly, and every email that I send out related to drumming, it's got to have that, be well worded and be well presented and have some thought and energy put into it. So that's your communication skills are a big factor in how to get a gig. So that's one of the things that I'll tell students if they're asking about how to get a gig. It's like, get your communication skills way up. Learn how to talk to people. And
Right.
I think one of the most important things is to be of value to people. How could I help you? When Chip calls you, Chip will call you out of the blue and say, "Hey Rick, what could I do for you today?" Just out of the blue.
Yeah.
So then if I'm thinking, well, I can't do a gig, who am I going to call? Well, I'm going to call Chip Ritter. Chip's always got my back covered.
There you go.
Yeah.
That kind of thing.
Hey man, Chip Ritter's good people. Last time he called me,
Yeah.
Deck was born. And he did it.
Yeah, that's true.
Chip is the man.
That was a good call.
It was. It was. Okay.
Yeah. So Bart, what about you? You had questions.
Yeah, I got a couple. I've got a few questions, and one of them I'm going to start with my students' questions first, and at the end I have a question that I want to pick everybody's brain on. But here's my question. My first question is from my student Kathy. She wants to know. I'm reading it here up on my screen. How do you stay focused and not let outside thoughts invade your head during practice time? Now, what she said to me was that was her question, but then she kind of elaborated. She goes, it can be anything from how hard this piece is that I'm working on to what it was for dinner tonight, So what do you how do you stay focused during your practice time? What do you tell your students to do to stay focused? Chip, I'll throw that one to you.
Write your goals down on paper. Write your practice goals down on paper. Have a timer. Have a schedule of your practice so you know where you should be when you are, and look at that goal and think about that goal and how fulfilling it's going to be when you fulfill that and reach that, and keep that at the center of your mind while you practice. That's how I would do it.
That's fantastic. That's great advice. That's great advice. You always have the thing of writing down goals, and I love that. I do love that. Rick, what about you? What do you tell students to do? Because I have an answer for this as well, but what do you tell students to do when they're having trouble staying focused on what they're trying to practice?
Yeah. The first thing I'd say is to turn this thing off. Turn your phone off. Get that out of the way, because that's like the number one distraction that we all have. So put it in the other room. I'm a big proponent of what Chip said, scheduling the time. 5 to 6, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, Sunday. That's drum time. The other thing that I think is helpful is having a clean environment where you're not distracted by stuff. You know, have your drum space. You know, put up some cool drum posters. You know, try to stay within the world of drumming, so you're not distracted by, you know, work and life and all of that stuff. The other thing too is sometimes I think it's okay to take a little subtle mental break. There's only, like lifting weights, you can only lift so long. You can't be in the gym for the half hour. You've got to rest it. So I think it's okay to set the sticks down and just give yourself a little mental break, you know, a couple minutes. So don't feel beaten up if you're not focusing for the entire half hour or hour of rehearsal.
Right.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
one last thing.
Yeah.
Is practice, you know, get with a good teacher, which we all talk about all the time. And I think it's important to be practicing on several different things at once. Sometimes you might be practicing on something that's so hard, that's just not for you, that it's just so painful, it's hard to stay with it because it's just so complex and you're not getting it. So pepper in some stuff that is tangible and easy to make you feel good about your playing. And don't forget, it's cool to just play to some songs.
Right.
Just
right.
Is that it? Yep. And breathe.
Exactly. Yeah. I think that I think all of that is important. And then one of the things that that I would like to add to that, and this is what I tell my students when they talk about that thought invading their head, is to think about what you're doing, not how you're doing. And what I mean by that is, if I'm playing something and I'm working on it and it's a very challenging part, or it's an easy part, but there's this one drum fill that I always have a hard time with, don't think about how hard it is to do this. Don't think about the difficulty that you're having. Think about what you're doing. If you're playing something and you know that you're flamming between your left hand and your right foot, focus on not flamming. Really think about keeping that particular note clean. Or if you're trying to play a swing pattern on the ride cymbal and it keeps flattening out, focus on the swing. Focus on what you're doing, not how you're doing. Because that little voice, we all have that little voice that creeps in that says, "You suck. You're terrible at this. Why try? Give up now. Go do something else." We all have that voice. Dude, you got to beat that little bastard down and tell him to get out of there. You know, focus in on what you're doing. I think that is so incredibly important. Really focus on what you're doing, not how you're doing. Do you mind if I tell a quick story in regards to that?
Please do.
Okay, so I was playing this one gig one night down in Temecula, and this was years ago. We used to play it every year. And on the way home, I don't like to eat before I play. I don't know how you guys feel, but like I don't want to eat within 4 hours of showtime. I just don't, I don't like to do it because you're sitting there and you got a full gut and you're like, I don't feel good. So I always eat after the gig, and on the way home, I was kind of hungry. And on the way home from this particular gig, there's an In-N-Out burger off the freeway. I'm going to treat myself. I'm playing great. I look down at the set list and I'm like, okay, we got 3 more songs. Get done. I'm going to go over to the table. I'll sign a couple autographs. Going to pack up my drums, get them in the truck. I'm going to get off right at that Clinton Keith Road, man. I'm going to get me that In-N-Out burger. I'm going to get a double, and I'm going to get a chocolate shake. And where the hell am I in the song? What the hell? Oh man, it's so easy. It's so easy, right? And that's my point. Don't be thinking about cheeseburgers. Don't be thinking about chocolate cake or what your mom said to you or your dad said to you or your drum teacher said to you. When it's practice time or it's time to play, focus in on that. And I always try to kind of teach from a place of Yeah, I've had that happen too, and that's a perfect example of me not paying attention when I should have been,
Yeah.
And so I like to throw that in there because I think it's an important thing that hey, you're human, it happens. So I focus, I try to teach from there as well. So anyway, that's my story.
Right
There you
on.
go.
Hey
Yeah,
guys, Robert Leslie's got a thing, not to change the subject, but he said,
yeah.
so friends of mine tell me I should give lessons. I never took lessons myself. So I want to know what you guys think of that. I always felt like I can't because I can't teach reading music. Should he be giving lessons or what's the deal? What do you guys think?
I think you should start giving lessons, but make your rate reasonable.
Hmm.
Um, and I think you should learn to read music because I tell you what, I'll be real honest, I have seen a million drummers come in and out of San Diego who don't teach, who don't read, and they've tried to teach and it hasn't worked out. Here's why,
Right.
because they're playing by ear, they're playing
Hmm.
instinctively.
Mhm.
Yep.
Okay. You can't teach that. If a person could listen to the record and play it, they wouldn't need lessons. So
Right.
reading it's just like, how am I going to teach language without the written word? So
Yeah.
it's not that hard. That's the whole thing. It's not that hard to learn to read music. It's
Right.
not that big of a deal. But I
Robert,
think you should do it.
yeah, Robert, I agree with Rick, and I'll say this: I have a student of mine who is in Arizona. Matter of fact, I'm going to see him tonight, and he is a great drummer. And he came to me because, like yourself, he played great, been playing for many years, but he wanted to start teaching, and he had that same exact question. He was like, "Man," and what Rick said, he played instinctively and he played by ear. So not only through his lessons with me is he learning how to read music, but he's also kind of learning how to teach. I still take lessons, and in every lesson I'm learning new teaching things. You're always going to be learning. Man sharpens man like steel sharpens steel. So take some lessons. You're going to get your chops up. You're going to become a better drummer. You're going to learn how to read. And you're going to be able to pass that knowledge on to other drummers. Almost sounded like Dom Famularo there. And there's a wellspring of knowledge right there in Connecticut. Dom Famularo. There's so many of us out there that learn from people like that. So definitely get yourself some lessons, get in there and start learning how to read and passing that knowledge on. Like Rick said, it's not that hard. And I'll couple that with this. I had a couple guitar players that I've worked with that would always, and I always felt that it was a bit of whatever, hiding behind something like, oh, I don't need to know how to read music. I play by feel. Well, that's great. Okay. The three most important things of music: groove, time, and feel, right? Those are the three most important things. You take one of those away and it all falls apart. You may be a great field player, but if the band leader says, hey, the intro on this song is 8 bars, I want to cut it down to 4 bars, and it's a 32 bar solo, I only want to play 16 of the 32. Well, that person that doesn't know how to read is probably not going to understand what that means when he says that. And if he's just going by feel, not going to be able to grab onto that. So you might be able to, but it's going to be luck. You know what I mean? So my point is just what Rick said: get in there, get some lessons, and definitely teach. Definitely, you're not going to charge what somebody else would charge because you don't have all the tools yet. That's the point. You
Yeah.
don't have them yet. Go get them. There's a bunch of us out there that want to teach you, that want to show you how to do it. Chip, what do you say, bud?
I can't really add on much more to what you guys have said. I mean, I think that number one, I'm torn. If you're a great drummer and somebody asks you for lessons, why not teach them? But at the same time, if somebody's asking you to teach them written music and you don't know written music, you can't transmit what you don't got. So
Yeah.
learning how to read is going to be one of those things that, Robert, you might want to consider putting some time into that.
Yeah.
And Robert, feel free to contact me and I'm sure any of these guys are happy to talk to you offline about how to get set up with a teaching practice. I'm going to do my shameless self-promotion, How to Build a Drum Groove. It's got drum beats and then lists of hit songs that use that beat from start to finish. So
Right.
all you got to do is listen to Billie Jean, boom, tick, boom, tick. It's written out. So, that's what that beat, how you play that
Yeah.
beat. And here's 10 songs. So there's tools out there that can make this easy. Reading doesn't have to be just this mechanical, just rudiment marching thing that's super esoteric. So
Right.
we're here to help
And
you, man.
I do want to throw this in, and I want to use Chip's drum student as an example too. Chip just recently had a birthday. Happy birthday, Chip.
Thank you.
And he shared with us a video of his young drum student. What's his name, Chip? I'm sorry. Liam. And this kid played Happy Birthday for Chip and made a video of himself just slaying it.
He was playing and singing.
And one of the parts that he played was Sing, Sing, Sing. Great Gene Krupa by the Benny Goodman Orchestra, and he killed it. Hey, Chip, what rudiment is in Sing, Sing, Sing?
Oh, man, we got a paradiddle in there.
We got a paradiddle in Sing, Sing, Sing. If you don't know your rudiments, you're not going to know how to play Sing, Sing, Sing. Rudiments are not this horrible, evil thing. Make sure that, and Rick, I'm not meaning to, I didn't want to, I didn't mean that.
In. Yeah.
Right. So please don't take that the wrong way. Please don't take that the wrong way. Rudiments are something that I think you say it best, Rick. I teach them a song and then I pepper in the rudiments and show them how to do it.
Yeah.
And learn. So learn your rudiments. Learn. Even if it's like I heard Ian Pace once say, even if you don't know all 40 of your rudiments, if you know paradiddles, some doubles, you got a good handle on some rolls, man, you can go really far with that. So put in the time. And you can do it, man. I mean, you can definitely do it, Robert. Definitely. All right. Sorry. I wanted to.
That was a great question, Robert. Thank you, man.
Great question. Okay. Does anybody else have a question? I got another one.
I've got another one.
Go for it.
My students often ask me, how do I come up with cool fills?
Okay.
How do you come up with cool fills?
Rick, go for it.
Well, that goes back to what you were saying, Bart. Rudiments. Learn your rudiments, and then you can apply the rudiments to the drum set. Mm-hmm. So that's a good starter. And once again, learn to read music and get a book and start understanding the rhythms. Understand what 4/16 are, or 2/16 and an 8. Barbecue.
Barbecue, yeah.
Get some phonetics. I'm
a chicken nugget man myself.
Chicken nugget.
Chicken nugget.
Chicken nugget. Chicken nugget.
Yeah. That's the one.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah. Yeah. I've got a fill book with 2,000 drum fills. We take every rhythm that there is, and we do the rhythm for 1 beat, 2 beats. We lengthen it so up to a full bar and 2 bar fills. Yeah, man, you got to get literate. If you want to learn the fills, you got to understand rhythm.
Yeah, one of the things that I'm glad you said that, Rick, because I remember I asked that question one time a long time ago when I was studying with Ralph Humphrey, and he took a very simple 16th note, right? So Robert, if 16th notes, 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4 E and he played that a full bar of 16th notes. Da 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 da. I'm not sitting at my drum set right now. I'm in front of my computer. Drum set's right there. And what I'll do is when I have an overhead cam and a foot cam, so you can see me from above and you can see my feet and straight on. And Ralph Humphrey took that 1/16th note phrase and he played it 24 different ways. And then he wrote it out for me. And it was still, everything sounded completely different. But from beginning to end, it was every time, it was hand to hand, right, left, 16th notes, 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4 E and a. And he taught me that it's not what you say, but it's how you say it. And he put everything around a quarter note pulse on his left foot, moved it around the kit, used the toms, used the kick drum, used the bass drum. And that was years ago. I still work on that stuff. It's still some of my favorite drum fills. I do use a lot of the rudiments as well, as Rick said. But I think, like Rick said, it's just a matter of knowing, knowing what the fills are, knowing what the subdivisions are. So that's to Robert, and also to Chip, to your students as well. And by all means, contact Rick Stojak. That dude has books on everything. If anybody out there needs to know how to rebuild a small block Chevy, Rick's got a book he wrote about.
I know nothing about cars. I don't even know how to buckle my fan belt. Wait. See, I know nothing about a fan belt. Yeah, honestly, I know nothing about cars.
Rick has a hard time changing blinker fluid too.
Yeah, I do too, dude. I can never find the reservoir. I can never find the blinker fluid reservoir.
Here's Bart, going to what you said about the fills. You learn a rhythm.
Right.
And the cool thing about drums, we're the most customizable instrument that there is. Right? You can have a huge drum kit, a small kit. You could play on the rims. You could play on cowbells and wood blocks. You can use electronics. So one of the coolest things about drumming is you can voice your rhythms around the kit. So it's not just that. It's this, right? It's all this stuff. So that's what's really fun about drumming. And keeps it really, really interesting.
Practice. And this is tough. This is tough for when you first start, So like we've mentioned paradiddles, right? So a paradiddle, you can't really see me too well, but right, left, right, left, da, 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 da. Well, if you're a beginner, take your left stick and put it on a different surface. So I got my desk and a practice pad. Well, there's a rhythm, there's a drum fill. And the first time you try to do that as a beginner, you go, wait, hold on. That different sound messes with you, just learning how to groove on two different surfaces. Hey man, that's tough, not easy at first, but then all of a sudden you start doing it like Rick just did there, and listen to how good he sounded. Fantastic stuff. Great stuff. Know that stuff.
Chip, what do you tell him?
Well, as far as the fills, I get them doing one little mini fill. I get them doing a beat, 1/4 note fill, and then we work up through your book, and we go through different examples of how you take one pattern and transfer it around the drums, and we just start there with basic rhythms. You know what I mean? And I tell them that a drum fill is kind of like a mini drum solo. It's like a little solo, and you want to create the rhythm that makes you happy. So you play what makes you happy.
Yeah.
Right.
I love it.
David Betts came in and he said, it's probably something we overlook, but they are essential tools of our trade. What is it? What if someone asks, what sticks do I need? Does it matter at first?
That's a great question. David, man, I can't wait to meet you, brother. You're always watching, always supporting us, man.
Right.
David's cool. You guys know David?
Yeah,
Chip knows him.
Yeah.
I've met him through social media and a couple of little platforms that we both belong to. I want to meet him in person too. My answer to the question, David, is what I tell everybody, especially somebody just starting out. I'm a Vic Firth guy, so I always tell them, get yourself. For kids, if kids have the little toy sticks, I tell them, you know what? Even if they're made by a good company, don't use them. They're too small. Get a real pair of drumsticks. My opinion, I could be wrong. And I just say, start with a standard size 5A. It's a good one, and get wood tip. And the reason I say wood tip is because you may like nylon tip when you get a little bit more advanced but it's a sound thing, it makes your cymbals sound a little bit brighter. And that's a preference thing. When you're first starting out, you're not gonna have an opinion yet. You have to form that opinion. Oh yeah, I like nylon tips, or oh, I don't like nylon tips. So I just for me, I just tell all my students, couple set of 5As, and I always say a couple set, get 2 pair of 5A, because inevitably one's going to break. You're going to lose one. You know, you got, it goes to an 8-year-old kid. It goes from a drum set to a lightsaber, and they break, and, you know, they become they become weapons at some point, you know. Chip's got a set of drum chucks hanging on the wall over there.
There we go.
You know, so yeah, you know, you want to have a couple pair, but I just say 5As, get started, get rocking. Rick, what about you?
Rick?
Well, I think I always recommend a 5A Vic Firth wood tip. And then when people come in, especially for their first lesson, try this stick. I have a few different sticks for them to try, you know, and I think you've got to experiment. I really do. I'm still trying to figure out what my go-to stick is after 40 years. You know?
Right. I know, I'm with you. Chip, what about you?
Man, I like my Agner Special signature model Chip Ritter drumsticks, but I recommend a 5A or a 5B.
There you go.
Depending on the size of the student.
Yeah, I also think it needs to be said that the right tool for the job, right? If you're playing quieter, of course, you should be able to go soft to loud with any stick.
Right.
We know that's a given, but you know, it is nice to have a lighter stick for quieter playing, a heavier stick for heavier metal playing. So the styles you're into might be a factor. The other thing too is I do feel like hand size is a factor.
Oh,
you know?
it is.
You know, like
you got to be able to control the fulcrum.
Right, right, man. If you've got giant hands, you know, I give Gene Hoglan, like, he comes in here and, you know, like, hey, here's a pair of sticks, a 5A. He's like, dude, are these kid sticks? I'm like, no, dude, it's a 5A. You know, he plays baseball bats, you know, so hand size is a factor, I think, in this. Yeah.
I think it was David Betts too that said, and how many drum keys? Because I always lose them. I recommend at least 2 million drum keys. Because I'm with you. I think that was David that put that in there. I don't know what it is about drum keys, but I tune my drums. I set the drum key down, and it grows legs and runs away. It's just the way it works. Part of the gig.
Dude, I think I'm gonna get a piercing that's a drum key.
What are you gonna pierce?
On my nose or something? I don't know. I haven't figured it out, but that way I always have a drum key.
Hey, Chip, do you have a piercing with a drum key in it?
No, I don't. No, I don't.
Yeah, I think you should get one. That'd be cool.
No, I don't think so. I'm gonna
the Ritter rocker, and it can hang from your ear.
Hard pass.
Hard pass. Okay.
Come on, Chip. You could pierce your nipple with a drum key.
Well, if I did that, I'd have to pierce both because I'm a Libra.
Oh, there you are. Yes.
Yeah, definitely. Well, hey, you got 2 drum keys, man. You can't lose one. You know.
I have.
What about you, Bart? Do you have some student questions for us?
I do. I have another student question. This one is from my student Caleb, and I love this question. How do you develop patience? And what he means by that is he's like all of us. He wants to have that magic drumming pill. He wants to sit down at the drums and just be able to do it. How do you develop patience and not want to, go too fast? What do you guys recommend? That's a great question, man. Chip, what do you say?
And having that goal in mind, being able to really focus on what it is you're trying to do, why you're trying to do it, and how good it's going to feel when you accomplish it is going to give you the ability to take it slow and get it right. Because you know that only through taking it slow and getting it right are you going to be able to reach that speed. You know what I mean? That's the best advice I could give.
Right. Okay,
like
Rick?
I think find some practice routines of some beats and patterns and songs that are really tangible, so you can tell yourself, oh, I can do this, because if I can play this simple song and then get a little more difficult as I go along, then it's like incrementally you can reach up to it, you know. And don't compare yourself with there it is. rush drumming or try to be John Bonham in one day, you know,
Right.
and be careful with the social media, watching all these drummers who are kind of turning drumming into extreme sport speed stuff. That can be intimidating and affect your patience, you know?
Yeah.
So enjoy. Boom, bop, boom, boom, bop, boom, bop, boom, boom, bop. Play the We Will Rock You and you're going to feel great, you know?
Yep.
And yeah, and then kind of avoid. How old is your student?
Caleb is 13.
13. Yeah, avoid video games because video
Yep.
games give you instant gratification. Likes, thumbs up, a bunch of cherries, woohoo, and that was easy. So you're feeding yourself easy,
What
simple.
video games are you playing, Rick? Cherries and thumbs up.
Oh wait, those
That's
are the ones in
awesome.
Vegas. Yeah.
Sorry to interrupt you. Okay, avoid video games.
Yeah, well, because all of those, what they do is they give you instant gratification
Right.
for something that's not hard to do, right? And you feel like $1,000,000, and it's getting all your adrenaline up. Woohoo! I got to
Yeah.
level 5 on the
Yeah.
video game. I'm a star. Then you get to drums, and you're like, oh damn it, this is really hard to do. So
Yeah.
you know, keep going for
I think
challenging things.
I agree. I agree 100% with that. And I always kind of, when somebody asks me that question, I always ask them, you know, are you into sports? And they'll say, yeah, I'm into sports. And well, who's your favorite player? And they give me the name of their favorite player, and for their favorite team, whoever it is, whatever it may be. And I'll go, do you think that person, player X, woke up one day and just all of a sudden he was a Major League Baseball player? Well, no, he worked hard at it. Exactly. And what I tell everybody is whenever you witness somebody doing something they're good at, I don't care if it's a Major League Baseball player or Chip Ritter with sticks flying through the air while he plays hot for teacher. Dude, that is the end result of years of hard work.
Yeah.
And I guarantee you that Chip has dropped a million sticks learning how to do that stuff. You know,
Yeah.
he just has, he's hit himself in the head but now he kills it, because he's worked really hard at his craft. So know that you're going to fail a lot, and that even when you're a pro, you're going to have a bad day. You're going to have a bad day at the office, but it's a matter of working the craft until you get better at it, and stay focused on the goal, like Chip says. Okay. Slipknot song. Who's that, Chip?
Robert Leslie says, yeah, what if a kid asked me to teach him a Slipknot song? I may have to tell the parents to keep 911 handy in case I have a stroke.
Well, you can always push 911 on your phone, and then when you feel it coming on, hit send.
There you go.
I think you hit on something really, really major there. A lot of people come in, they want to learn this instrument, and they want to play something that is so far beyond their level. And they say things like, we're up for a project. And it's like, man, you got to take it incrementally. You've got to have something tangible. You know, you're not going to pick up a baseball bat the first day and be playing in the major league. You got to understand slip drop. What's that, Chip?
That goes back to setting realistic goals that you can accomplish.
Yeah. And Rick hit the nail on the head. You go in and I had a student one time who, and I use this as an example, his parents, this was a number of years ago, probably 20 years ago, his parents took him to see Metallica, and this kid was hooked. He was like all in. I want to be a drummer. I saw Lars, I'm in. Good. And so his dad money was not an object for these people. So they went out and they bought a, probably $10,000 worth of drums, because it was a beautiful DW kit, every cymbal you can imagine, a top of the line double bass drum pedal. I mean, everything that was top drawer, they bought it for this kid, and he couldn't play or read or anything. He didn't know a whole note from a 16th note. And so they hired me. I came over and started giving him lessons, and it was probably, I don't know, 3 or 4 months in, and his dad was, well, look, he can't even play a song yet, and he really wants to learn Inner Sandman. I'm like, oh, I know he's got to, get a little bit under his belt. So we started like in Rick's books. We just started with boom, da 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 da, boom, chick, to work on Inner Sandman. But then you have to work on tempo. There's so much you have to do. So you have to start them where they're at, Robert. So if they're coming in and they want to learn a Slipknot song, can they play Back in Black? Can they play Boulevard of Broken Dreams? Right? Can they do that? If they can do that, then they're on their way. If they can't do that, then they're not gonna. You've got to, you can't start at step Z. You got to go A through Z to get there. So just kind of remember that.
Yeah.
I have a question that came from one of my students yesterday about the fact that that came from me just getting off the road with the band down in Florida. But we can apply this to all of us doing gigs, having played backline kits, and also the deck event that is coming up. I wanted to work that in there. What do you bring when you have to play a backline kit as extras so that you can do your gig well? Rick, what do you do when you get called to do a gig?
Bart, explain a backline kit for everybody first.
Okay, backline kit is a kit that is provided for you as a performer at a gig. So you don't bring your kit. I have a kit here in town at a gig that I play usually about every other month, where I play a backline kit, and it's an electronic kit. I just got home from Florida. We played Miami and Fort Lauderdale, like I said, this last weekend, and they provided kits for me at both locations. One night I'm a Gretsch endorser. One night I had a beautiful Gretsch kit. Next night I think it was a Yamaha kit. So it's kind of drums du jour. Whatever you show up and is there, that's what you got to play. So that's a backline kit.
Yeah.
So Rick, what do you bring? What do you bring when you play a backline kit?
It's super, super common for everybody to share a kit and on a bill if you have multiple bands. So that's you have to be able to play anybody's drum set and adapt. And sometimes you're not going to have very much time to make adjustments between drummers. So I've had major gigs where things are set up funky and I just had to make it work. And no one cares about the setup. You still have to deliver as best as you can. Right. A great performance. So I think it's kind of standard that people do bring their own cymbals. Cymbals can break, especially if there's multiple drummers playing on the same cymbal setup and they don't have good technique. They're hitting the cymbals, hitting it so hard. They're trying to get more volume out of it than it can actually make. Right. And so we tend to always bring our own cymbal package. It can't always be done because I know flying with cymbals can be really tricky if you have a flying gig, So cymbals are probably the main thing. And then a pedal, I think, is another thing too. Like I said, you should be able to play on any drum pedal. But, it starts from the bottom, folks. I play a double pedal a lot of the time. And so I need that double pedal and I like the feel of the pedal. Snare drum is another thing that's quite common to bring. And then I like to bring my own drum throne when I can too. I've had many gigs where the drum throne wasn't adjustable. Mm-hmm. I'm 5'6", and I'm like getting on a drum throne from some 6-foot person. I'm like trying to drum like this, like, that's not easy. So, and then I always bring my little toolbox too that has like a screwdriver, drum keys, water, Band-Aids, an Aquarian kick patch. I bring those too also. So which Bart, I know you were involved with helping the concept of the Aquarian kick patch, where if that 1 in a million thing happens where the head breaks, you could put this. It's like a Band-Aid for a drum set or for a drum
like
head.
a spare tire, basically.
And a spare tire. Yeah. How about you, Chip?
usually I'll bring my cymbals and my sticks and let them throw me to the wolves and see what happens. Usually it depends on what, it depends on the situation there. If I have an idea of what backline kit they have and I can scope in the stage beforehand, having my own stool is always nice. I think that almost all of my drumming comes from the foundation of where my butt is, how solid that is. If you have a wanky stool and it moves around, or a hydraulic one that bounces, I can't handle that. I've got to have a solid stool, but sticks and cymbals for sure.
Yeah.
There it is.
I used to, when I play a lot of fly gigs, I'm really fortunate. I used to have a case that I put under the plane that had my bass drum pedal, my snare drum, and then cymbals are considered a carry-on as long as they'll fit in the overhead bin. And carrying all that stuff just got to be so much that I quit carrying it, and I kind of started taking my own advice and some of the things that both guys have said so far, Rick and Chip. I don't take any of that stuff with me anymore. I play what is provided for me, but what I do is I take little emergency things with me. I take my stick bag. I have one of the small Vic First stick bags. I carry 4 pair of drumsticks and 1 pair of mallets with me. And then I was prepared. I should have sent you guys this question. I apologize. I didn't mean to throw you guys to the wolves. I brought a couple things that I show here. I'm going to show we're all Sky Gel endorsers. So I bring a thing of Sky Gels so that I can, like this last week, I ended up using one on both nights. On the snare drum, it's a little ringy for me. I didn't have Aquarian heads on those kits. You're not always going to get what you want, but there again, you play what you're given. And I always bring a few other little things. I have this one multi-clamp. I'm a Gretsch guy and a Gibraltar guy. This is made by Pearl. This clamp helps me out a lot because it swivels this way and it swivels this way. So if there's anything that I need to make, in this case, I use this for my tablet, for my in-ear monitoring system, if I'm allowed to use it, or when I do use it, but I bring it to a gig just in case there's something wonky. I always bring this Gibraltar clamp-on cymbal stand. It's a boom arm, and I use that for my pad that I bring with me. I have a pad that triggers a timpani sound and then an explosion sound at the end of my drum solo. Bring one extra multi-clamp. And in this bag, I don't have any right now. I had them, but I left them in Florida. I bring a handful of cymbal felts because you never know what you're going to need. I like my ride cymbal to breathe on me a little bit. I like it to move, but not too much. So I found putting an extra cymbal felt in there will hold it tight. When I'm playing a backline kit and it's something where I am sharing the kit, like Rick said, and I got to make it quick, the two things that I do, first thing I do is I sit down behind the kit, get the throne to the right height. If it has a backrest on it, I take the backrest off. I found that I like Chip. If you're sitting really solid, you're sitting from a place of being solid, you're going to play solid. For myself, if I lean back on a backrest, my time is not so great because I'm playing relaxed. I'm leaning back. So I take the backrest off because I will lean back on it if it's on there. And I get the snare to the right height and I count to 4 and away we go. Those things, if it's a quickie and I got to go real fast. If I have time, then I plug all this stuff in and put in my stands and make everything just right for me. But those are the things I have to have. So there's the backline answer.
And you heard it here, folks. Chip Ritter said, I've got to have a solid stool.
Gotta have a solid stool.
Yeah, there it is.
Good to have
Rick, you are like full of them. You're full of them today, man.
Oh man,
I got nothing. I'm not touching that.
I could just see it like on deck, a picture of Chip. We always have these enlightened comments about drumming, insightful, and that would be Chip's for today.
Chip Ritter. I gotta have a solid stool. Oh man. Okay. You should have, right.
Yeah.
Okay, I do have I have a question of my own that I want to ask you guys, and anybody out there who wants to chime in. I really want your input. Okay, so is that okay if I ask that now, or do you guys have some
Yeah, I
questions?
can't
Yeah,
wait
let's
to hear
go.
what
Go
your
for it.
question, man.
Okay,
We need steamroller here.
what do
though.
you do? And I'm going to throw this one. I'm going to throw this one to Chip first because Rick doesn't have a lot of kid students, although I know you have had some. So it goes to you too.
Yep.
What do you do when you have a student who is argumentative and unruly?
Argumentative and unruly.
Yes, sir. What happens? What do you
Well,
do, Chip?
the I hate to say this because it kind of betrays the trust that you have in the student, but I go to the parents and
Yep.
we have a talk about why we're here, what we're here to accomplish, and what the rules are, and how you're supposed to listen to your teacher. And I
Yep.
talk with the parents and the child at the same time. That's what I do.
That's okay. Rick, what do you do? Now, I know you don't have a lot of students that are kids, but you have had.
And
So
there's a
what do
reason.
you do?
Your question was one of the reasons why.
Okay. Okay. But what would you
I'm
do?
joking. I'm joking a little bit. Well, look, if it's consistent, that's not the student for me. I'm not the right teacher for that student.
Right.
I will say that. I will say
Right.
that. One of the things that keeps me going and enthusiastic and a happy person is I like to only work with people that I like to work with. I realize that's a luxury that I can do that, so I'm really blessed that way that I can, refer off students who are kind of difficult to work with. I just kind of, but in general, I would say I just kind of talk to them, just go, "What's up?" Just like
Yeah.
maybe they just need to talk. Maybe they just need a buddy, not a disciplinarian,
Yeah.
and make them feel relaxed. Because I have taught hundreds and hundreds of kids over the decades, and try to make it fun for them.
Yeah.
How do you handle that? I'm so curious.
I kind of do the same thing that you guys do. I'm with Chip and you too, Rick. I mean, I talk to the student first without the parents there and just say, hey, do we need to have a conversation with your parents? The particular student that's coming to mind is one of these kids that he's a sweetheart of a kid, but he's even his mother has said to him, you don't need to argue with everything. He just is argumentative and everybody's wrong but him. So
Yeah.
I will talk to him in front of the parents, so he knows that I'm talking to the parents, and also the parents know how I feel about it. I had one other student that is in my mind as well when I asked this question, because this particular student didn't have any role models in his life. It was pretty rough for this kid, and so I wanted to somehow try to help this kid because he needed more than a drum teacher. And we've talked before about how sometimes it's drum lessons, sometimes it's therapy, and that's kind of the way I looked at it. But I was wondering what you guys did, because sometimes that can be extremely taxing and extremely stressful on the teacher, because you at your heart, we've talked about paradiddles, and I'll say it tongue in cheek here. At your heart, you want to teach paradiddles, but you got this kid that's over here fighting you and arguing every step of the way.
Right.
How do you come up with the patience to deal with that? So
I'm like a little, you give them that love and nurturing and support, but then another effective tool that I've had is to alpha them like crazy, like just start blazing on the drums, and they're like, I'm like, yeah, I've been doing this a while, my friend, and kind of like the Caesar Milan kind of thing. If you see how Caesar Milan alphas the dog,
yeah,
same thing. Like
I
know
never
what I'm
want.
doing.
I never want to be alphaed by you or Chip. Okay, I'll put it that way. I'll never argue with either one of you in a drum lesson. If I ever take a lesson from either one of you, I will be. I promise I will behave. Okay. Okay. So go ahead, Rick. You were going to say something.
I was going to say I love student question days, that I really love that people, chiming in, asking some questions.
I do too. I do too. Okay, so next week is episode 100, and we have got something for you. I have not made the artwork yet, but I'm going to do it today, and we are going to be advertising this like crazy. Drummers who are watching, please share this with your friends. We have got none other than who do we have, Chip? Who's coming on next week? You tell them.
David Garibaldi.
Oh my God. David Garibaldi
Tower
from
of Power.
Tower of Power is going to be our guest on our 100th episode. And so when I meet him, I'm going to say, "Hi, Mr. Garibaldi. My name's Bart. How
Prepare
did
to
you
be
play?"
alpha. We're all going to get alpha.
We're going to get alpha. Can you show me how to play What Is Hip, please?
Oh, yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Dude, David Garibaldi is unbelievable. Mr. Linear himself. I cannot wait to meet him and have him on. That's going to be fantastic. Our buddy Jeremy Steinkohler will be back with us. Also, guys, we've got Drummers Education Connections' very first in-person event on November the 12th, Deck Days. And that's going to be at the Aquarian Drumhead Factory. You can buy tickets in person for $40. You can buy tickets to watch it on Zoom if your name is David Betts and you live in Europe, and it's going to be fantastic. And we got all kinds of prizes. Rick, tell them what you got in the mail yesterday to give away as a prize.
Oh my gosh. I got a Sabian 16-inch Ozone Crash XSR model. That thing is worth $200.
Wow. And we're just going to give it away. Just give it away.
Thank you to Sabian, and thank you to Chris Stanky for that.
Yes.
There's
that
Deck
is
Days.
Awesome. There's Deck Days. There it is. So check it out. Get your tickets. We're going to have a lot of fun. You're going to get a tour of the Aquarian Factory. You're going to see where they make the heads. You're going to possibly win a Sabian cymbal. You can buy heads that day. You're going to get all kinds of prizes. Chip has boxes of stuff sitting there. He showed me when before we got on today. Look at that. We got lanyards. What is that?
We got a drum case from Humesenberg and a stick bag, 2 stick bags from Humesenberg. We got lanyards from Peisty and polish and cymbal stoppers from Trick Drums. It's a bunch of goodies.
And you have to be present to win the stuff. The prizes are going to in-person guests at the show. We're not doing it for the online just because of shipping and stuff like that. If somebody wins and they're in Europe, it's going to be quite costly. So you got to be in person to win the prizes. So get your tickets. I've got a box over here. I can't reach it. Got some T-shirts and a really cool baseball cap from Gretsch Drums. And I know Jeremy's got a bunch of Vic First stuff. We got all kinds of stuff that we're Pro Logic. He's got, we got stuff. We got all kinds of stuff. Hey, what if you're performing in Deck Days, right? If you're one of the performers in Deck Days, and your name, your last name happens to end in the letter Y. Let's just say hypothetically, can you win something, or are you disqualified?
No.
You're disqualified. Well, that kind of sucks.
Yeah,
you're disqualified.
You could win. You could win a date with Chip Ritter, but you have to pay for the food.
Yeah.
Hey, yeah, Bart, you've piped in so much about this dream date with Chip Ritter. You win. Excellent.
Excellent. That's what I wanted.
That's what I wanted. I wanted my dream date with Chip Ritter. All right, everybody. Rick, you brought us in. You take us out. I'm yakking too much.
Everybody. Thank you for joining us. We love all of you. We appreciate the support. We're not going away. We're going to continue to do our very best to inspire you, to answer your questions. And we are just grateful. And it's a blast and an honor. And it's an honor to, I learn something every time from all of you guys. And
Yes, sir.
thanks for joining us, everybody. And
Thanks for watching.
stay cool. Go practice.
Go practice and
Go practice. Thank you so much.
have a great day. Eat pizza.
Eat pizza.